I want to tell you about a man named Chris Cheng. Chris Cheng is one of the best marksmen in the entire United States, if not the world. He is the Season 4 champion of History Channel's Top Shot competition. His new book, The Purple Heart Battalion, tells the story of Japanese-American soldiers during World War II who signed up to fight for America through much adversity at the time and became the most decorated unit in American military history. Top Shot Chris Cheng joins me now. Chris, great to see you. So this book tells the story of the Japanese-American soldiers of the 100th Infantry Battalion. Tell us what inspired you to get this project off the ground.
At the beginning of the pandemic in 2020, there was this terrible increase in anti-Asian attacks in San Francisco, where I live, LA, New York, and other parts of our country. And it was so frightening and scary to see Asian Americans getting attacked and scapegoated for COVID when we had nothing to do with it. And so at the time, I was really disheartened. And I happened to come across the men of the Purple Heart Battalion, and it is such an inspiring American story. You had 120,000 innocent Americans of Japanese descent who were put in incarceration camps as a result of Executive Order 9066. And you had these men who decided to fight fascism abroad, fight for American freedom when their families were still here behind barbed wire. And so they got deployed to Italy and to France, and they got dubbed the Purple Heart Battalion for all of the Purple Hearts that they were awarded, 7 presidential unit citations, 21 medals of honor, and they became the most decorated unit in United States military history for the time and duration of their service, and few people know about them.
Yeah.
And so I wrote this novel. It's a historical fictional account of the 100th Infantry Battalion and 442nd Regimental Combat Team. And it tells this story of Americans fighting for American values, even when America fell short of what we wanted to be.
So you mentioned that this is a historical fiction, but it's built on years of research. You've gone to a number of battlefields. You're in Washington, D.C., doing research here. Talk to us about that process of wanting to get the story right while also putting it into a historical fiction.
With a story of this magnitude, you know, I'm a civilian, but I come from a military family. My father served in the U.S. Navy, as did my father-in-law, other relatives in the United States Air Force. And so to have a story of, like the Purple Heart Battalion, a story of this magnitude of Americans standing up for what we believe in, freedom and liberty, even when our country fell short, I really wanted to make sure that I got as many of the facts and the history correct. And so going to France, going to Italy, meeting the townspeople who were children in World War II, who are now old adults, but they remember fondly seeing Japanese-American soldiers liberating their Italian and French towns. That is and was such an incredible experience for me to learn the history firsthand. Of course, with my firearms background,
yes.
I bring a lot of my firearms experience shooting the M1 Garand, the M1 carbine, the BAR. And so my novel, The Purple Heart Battalion, is a war novel at its core, and I really wanted to bring that realism to the book.
All right, we got to run, but how can people support this book? I know that there's a Kickstarter. How can they find it, and how they can support you in your research and work?
Yeah, I've got a Kickstarter going through August 3rd, and so you can pre-order your copy of The Purple Heart Battalion, and there's a lot of Kickstarter exclusive rewards available on the Kickstarter.
All right, Top Shot Chris Cheng, great to see you. Thank you so much for sharing that with us. Looking forward to the book.
Thanks for having me on.
See you soon.